So welcome everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Thank you very much for being here today. This is how to CAD almost anything. So well, also hello to all the Zoom people online as well. It's the first time, as I was saying, that I'm teaching this class. Super excited because this is really the way I would like to teach the class, which is just once a week instead of 3 times a week, which is very intense during IAP. That way, you guys have more time to digest the concepts, practice a little bit by yourself. And I think with the class size that we have right now, it's going to be a lot easier to just all of us work together and do a couple of good things. And I like making these sort of colorful slides, as you can see here. And that's actually a reflection of most of the projects that we'll work on. In fact, one of them is the one that we'll start with today is the calculator that you see in there. But we'll do very complex stuff, interesting shapes like the banana, as you can see there. The Diet Coke bottle, which I think is very interesting. The Ariane 5 rocket, I always like doing a rocket, obviously Lego, right? Because we have to design Lego at some point. Now, one that I'm very excited about, which is the Mario Kart. That one, I haven't tried it. I mean, many of these things, teaching these guys is also a challenge for me as well. But I want to see whether I can cut it too, besides you guys. If I can cut it, you guys can cut it as well. Perhaps right now you might be overwhelmed looking at this picture and you see, right, how the F do I even put like this into a design software? It's actually super easy. Although I was starting with a calculator and it's not as simple as I thought. So that being said, welcome everybody and thank you. So just an agenda for today. Well, I'll tell you why I think it's worth learning Onshape besides other design softwares that are out there. We'll look into the session, some of the logistics, and there's just a list of the main commands that we'll be learning. And today's projects are, we're gonna make a cake. I call it cake. It's like many, you can have many interpretations. I will make the calculator, and then I'll tell you what we'll do next week. Yeah, just a little bit about myself. Maybe you know me from beforehand or not, but I guess that picture does a pretty good job of telling me who I am. I'm Andy, and I like airplanes. I guess that's the main thing you should know about me. And every time I fly, I'm 25 almost, and I still go like as if I was a little kid. I ask the pilots always for a picture. That's I think one from last year. I was flying on United. They're good people. They always. Yeah, I'm from Argentina. I mean, I arrived the first year. Yeah, and I guess why CAD almost anything. Last year, the anecdote was I used to teach this class at my previous university at UPenn, and my last semester with my students, I told them that we're gonna design a trumpet for them. And I have a YouTube video on that, and I failed design. Well, I didn't quite finish the trumpet. So last summer, I decided to design the trumpet, and I spent like 5 days. Right? And I think it looks pretty beautiful. The trumpet. I'll show you afterwards. The point is that I thought, what if we create like some form of workshop, right? Like this one, where I just bring you like random objects. That's like my long-term goal. And you just say, right, how do you design this, right? Let's make a 3D model out of this. So the focus is on the design process, right? On looking at an object like this chair in front of us and saying, all right, let's make a model out of this. So I want to know about you guys, and with 6 of us, 7 of us. So perhaps we can start here. Just like if you want to tell me those 4 bullet points. Make it fun. Congratulations. Very good. Medical. Okay.
But I do know how to scan and how to do it, but I don't know it how to use it.
Well, hopefully we'll do all of those things and perhaps inspire you in a way. But thank you. How about you?
I'm in person in Los Angeles. Spirit. Probably is
Okay.
And then why am I here? I guess my grad program is called policy.
Nice.
Computer science. But I've never done any math type stuff. I got the whole sets a year ago. I was like, this is cool, very hard.
Oh, hopefully by the end of the 8 weeks you'll be up to rock.
Yeah.
Although that's why the class is almost, and I have the word in there, otherwise they will sue me. I don't guarantee the anything part of it. Thank you for being here.
Hi, my name is Tony. I work over mechanical engineer, staff. I like to do some projects over at MakeWorks and for various, the hobby shop.
Mhm.
So just trying to learn how to do things.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for being here.
Hi, I'm Annie. I'm a physics operation. Spirit animal the monsters or something. Yeah, I see it because I recently learned how to use like the spaces I thought.
Actually, we'll definitely do a lot of stuff with that.
George. I'm a postdoc in mechanical engineering. And, yeah, I feel like I haven't done a lot of tangible design projects lately. So I'm kind of using this as inspiration to get back.
Perfect. Hopefully, it's a one-way journey, as I like saying. Once you start doing it, you cannot stop. You enjoy it a lot. And over here,
Hi everyone, I'm Amber. I'm from Paris, France. I'm a student here in Turkey. And my student type will be rabbit, I guess. Okay, and why I want to learn CAD because I think all engineers CAD, and I want to be a good engineer, so that's why, yeah.
thank you for being here. And yeah, I guess on that one point, another reason why I want to teach this class is because I came to MIT. And like, yeah, also I'm a first year, right? As I told you, and I was looking for the equivalent of this class on campus, and it doesn't exist. MIT, like I mean, you think like engineering best university in the world, and it doesn't have a class that teaches you CAD. I mean, I know everybody's smart, right? And perhaps they assume they know how to CAD, which I guess it wouldn't be such a wrong assumption. But really, there's lots of people that would benefit from having a CAD class. That's why I pushed very hard to create the open courseware and to make these workshops that people perhaps in the future might be able to find it and learn. Maybe someday there's going to be a CAD class, but it's not going to be me teaching it because they don't want to have a grad student doing it. But you guys are privileged in here. So I'm very thankful that you all are here today. So yeah, well, let's get started. Thank you. So why Onshape? There's many CAD softwares out there. I listed a lot of reasons why I think Onshape is very interesting. I think the main point is that it's open source, so it's free. You don't need to pay the subscription software. It's online, so you can be anywhere in the world. You don't even need to have your own computer. You just log in into your account. And I think the best part of it is what I say there is like Google Drive, right? Where you can like create files online, you can share them with other people, you can work on the same thing at the same time for other people on like the same file. And I think that's pretty great because you see, I'm more of a SolidWorks user, and I'll probably continue being a SolidWorks user, but there are many instances where, say, team projects, this could be extremely useful. So just to have in the back envelope. And also the purpose is to create an open course, like a course that is open to everybody. And yes, I'm teaching you in a free manner how to learn SolidWorks, right? But you need to pay to use SolidWorks. So if I teach you how to use Onshape, now yes, anybody can learn how to CAD them, at least to some extent. And then you can move on into other commands. And I would say Onshape is actually pretty similar to SolidWorks. I mean, they're all very similar, all of the design softwares. But it's good to like learn some interesting quirks that it has that I think are pretty useful. Another thing for those that are really, really into CAD, and this is why I personally would like to explore this a lot. I'm fascinated by the people that code these softwares. And one functionality in Onshape is that you can code like custom features. So if I want to do something that perhaps doesn't exist, I can actually write the code for it. I'm not sure whether we'll get to that this summer. Perhaps I still have to learn it myself. But the Onshape people are based here in Boston. And perhaps I might be able to bring them at some point. I met them before. And it was them that, when I met them, that introduced me to, it's called Feature Script. So there, I gave an example, it's the freeform spline, which is making a spline is like a line, right, that you can draw without any constraint. That one is in 3D. I should say SolidWorks already has that command already incorporated, while they market this command as something that is available as a custom feature. But still pretty cool because you never know There's a club here that does jet engines at MIT, so they needed also like custom stuff, and they're using this for that. Yeah, so that being said, did it shift? No, there we go. So yes, welcome. The theme of the class would be Mario Kart, because I like playing Mario Kart, so you'll see a lot of Mario themes in there. And yes, just precisely this is the project, and this is what we'll learn week by week. So June will meet 4 times. So the half of this course takes place in the entirety of this month. We'll meet, and then I'm away for a little bit. That's why so the schedule. But just bear in mind that it's not every week. It's a little bit scattered. You can see there. And those are the projects. I'm trying to get you some variety. Also trying to give you a little bit of my quirkiness as well. I bet nobody knows what a safety card is, for instance. You'll learn next week what that is. Doesn't matter. But hopefully some of this stuff will be useful, or at least will illustrate the different like functionalities that this can have. And in the time being, while you're learning all this stuff, you guys are working on your own personal stuff. Let me know and I can help you as well on doing those things. Yeah. Well, I should have updated this slide. I was copying it. It's not 2 cohorts, it's just 1, and it's only on Wednesdays that we're meeting 10 to 12. Right here, as you guys know. And yes, those are the functionalities. Our class has a GitHub. I'm gonna show you the GitHub in just a moment. I post everything there, so you guys can look at it in there. The syllabus is there in case you need it as well, if you haven't gotten the email. And again, Onshape is a Google Drive, and it's a public Google Drive, so you can look at all of the parts that I design. I'll put them there, so you can always edit them, copy them, export them, play around with them as much as you want. So I guess we're ready to almost start. This is the plan for today, session 1. So we'll do the cake and the calculator. To give you an idea, I gave it a shot, or at least this is my interpretation of a cake. I'm not. We'll get to this in just a moment. And I couldn't finish the calculator, but this is where we'll get today, and we'll be practicing a lot together. But before I go into that, let me just go here to Chrome. Oh, that's a research paper I was reading. But this is the GitHub, just for you guys to have. Actually, yes, I should probably just open this. Am I sharing? Oh, I forgot to share my screen. There we go. Excellent. Okay. Hopefully the Zoom people can see. So this is the GitHub in here. That's the link. And I think it's already in one of the emails I sent before, so you can access it. Yeah, so just a couple of details in there. I will post pictures. I haven't finished updating it. But then in these links, if you click in there, that takes you to like the files, and these slides from today, you can already see them there. And then the week 1 library in here, that's where I post the files as well. So you have access to all of this. So every week, all of the content will be posted here. And yes, just a couple of notes. Yeah, so that being said, I think it's time to get started. So let's go here to Onshape. I'm just gonna reconnect right here. I was just sharing the file. Let me just go over here. Okay, so let's start all the way from scratch. This is the Onshape interface. Hopefully you guys have logged in. You see something that looks like this. And again, I'm gonna use the Google Drive analogy very, very often. Something that is pretty cool about this, which I just realized, is that well, you can create unlimited parts and there's unlimited storage, which is you don't need to use your computer storage, which is pretty good. Software can be very heavy, and also all of the parts, all of this is in the cloud. And as such, like the organization, you can play around with the organization. I created a folder in here, but you can say create. I can do a folder. So I'm gonna call how to CAD, and I'm gonna say like core class demos. I create a folder here, and then I can go here and then just create another folder, and I'll call it like week 1 to give you an idea, right? And then I can go to week 1, and then I can create another, and now yes, I can create the document. So you can play around with like the folders. You can move when you right click in a part, you can move it to a folder or another one. And I'm gonna call this one cake demo. And it's a public document, because the big caveat about Onshape is that with the free account, all of the stuff that you create is actually public. You don't, I mean, you own it, but everybody can see it in the sense that if you're using this for research, which many people might, that's where you need to be careful. I think there's a version of Onshape where you can make things private, but if you don't want the stuff that you do for research to be open to the public, right? Just be careful. Also, I think there's, what is your name? Leah, nice to meet you. What department are you from? Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. No, don't worry. Are you able to create an Onshape account?
Yeah.
Perfect. So we'll go slow. Anyways, I just created a file, and this is the main interface that appears here. If you used other CAD softwares, this is going to look familiar. And then we're going to go the basics back to the basics, right? If you grab your mouse, and I'm going to show the camera the mouse right here, and you press on the ball of the mouse, you can rotate your view. Which seems like a pretty basic thing, right? But it's, you'll see we'll be using it a lot. And then to start a sketch, we just click first on this button in here. And it's gonna first ask us to choose a plane. It's always gonna ask us to choose a plane where we're gonna be building our sketch. So I'm gonna say, I wanna use the top plane as an example, right? So then I'm gonna move this box around here. Well, actually I could just say, okay. So you'll see that now it created a sketch. The sketch is blank and I can create more sketches I want not. But what I'll do is I'll right click in there and I'll say edit. That way, so if you click the green check mark, you're finishing your sketch, but you can always right click there and go back to edit. Yes, I'm just gonna move it here and you'll see that in the sketch, all of these different tabs start appearing over here. So we'll go over each one of these like one by one. Some of which, again, this is a lot of review, but I need to make sure that you guys really understand all of these things. So obviously the most basic thing that we have is the line. And right here, that point over there, that represents the origin. So every time I start a sketch and I start drawing something, whether it's a line, a square, a circle, the first point that I will always choose will be the origin. And you'll see why in just a second. So I'm just gonna bring this in here, and to exit the line command, I'm gonna say escape. So you can see that I have the line, and then if you click in your keyboard and you click the letter D, you can dimension this thing. So I can say I want that to be like 40 millimeters. You can also dimension stuff by clicking on that button in there. But you see the shortcuts are like super useful. You can either click on the D letter in your keyboard or in that button over there. And then if you want to edit that dimension, you just double click in that number. Oh, let me just do it again. I can say 50 right there. Yeah, so we have a line. Now, that's a dark line. What the dark line represents is a solid line. And whenever you want to build, I'll show you the distinction in just a moment, right? But there's also another type of line that's called construction line. And you use those whenever you need a line as a reference. And you see what's the difference in just a moment. We have a line, and then again, say, click back on the line command. Again, draw another line, then click escape, and then go back to letter D. And this time I can click on this line, I can click on this other line and give that an angle of 130 degrees, for instance. But you see like that dot in there, right? That dot is blue. And what that is telling you is that if I click on the dot and I drag it, I can modify the length. In other words, the dimensions of this line are not fully defined. And that's what the blue dot in there represents. So what you would do is again, click on D and then give that a dimension, right? So 60, and you see how this dot over here turned black. So then one thing with colors, right, is that let me create a line that is just randomly there. You see that line is blue as opposed to these ones that are black. What that means is that this one, it's free orbiting in space. Obviously, it's constrained to our plane, which is the top plane, but it's just floating out here. You know, I can click on one point, I can click on the other one, and we don't want that. In general, we want the lines to be black. So one thing that I can do is I can, for instance, go to the letter D. I can click on that point. I can click on the origin and say, all right, I want that horizontal distance to be 80, and I want maybe the angle, I don't know, between there and there to be 25 degrees. And then I want that length to be like 40. What else can I modify? Oh, you see that I haven't actually, yes, I gave it the angle, but I haven't given it the vertical dimension. So I can say, all right, I'm gonna go back to D. I can click on that point, and I can say that I want that to be 60. So you see how the line also becomes black, so I can no longer move it. That's a way, uh, I don't think anybody up here in here is interested in architecture or designing like layout plans, but you could totally design a layout this way, just in 2D, even though we're focused on 3D in here, but I don't care about this line. So if you click and drag, I can just delete all of that and it disappears. Another thing that you can do is I'm gonna create a random line just like that, escape. And then you can go, where is this friend? Well, now it's all like this. There's this set of commands in here that are called constraints. So what are they? I can click on this thing in here. I can say, all right, I want this point and this point to be coincident. And then I want this point and this point to be coincident too. So you can see how, let's just say some things to have, and I'll be using those a lot. And I think well, actually, if you click in here, right, it tells you what all of the shortcuts are. So coincident is just the letter I. So D, if you click D is for dimension, I is for coincident, and then E, as you see, somewhere it's I equal. So I can say, I can draw like another line like this, and I can go to like the parallel command and say, right, I want these two to be parallel. Then I can go to the equal command and I can say, right, I want these two to be equal length. And then what else can I do? I can say that I want, I don't know, this. I can click on I again for coincident and make these 2 points coincident. So you see, after defining all of the constraints, so I didn't provide any dimension. I'm just constraining all of these things in space. So you have that line in there. Yeah, hopefully as we do more stuff, all of this stuff will come in more naturally. But it's important to introduce it now because you'll see, I'll use it a little bit today. Some other things that I can do in terms of constraints is that I can say, draw a circle. Now I'm gonna click in that command. I'll draw a circle here, click on D. I'm gonna give that some dimension, say 40. And then I can draw another circle. And I can say, all right, I want this circle to be concentric. There you go. But you see, this one is still blue. So what that means is that, yes, they share the same origin, but I can still modify the dimensions, right? So I go back to D and I say 80. Okay, what are some other constraints? Well, a very important one would be, if I draw, say, another line, right? I can make this perpendicular. There we go, like that. And again, we can always, if you want to exit a command, you just click escape in your keyboard. And then I can drag this point, move it around. And I'm going to click on D. And I'm going to give that 60 as the dimension. And you see that, yes, normally, if you're interested in a particular command, you can just Google it and you'll find it there. But I think these are the main ones. Something that is also interesting is that, yes, that I hinted at previously, is that all of these lines are black. However, there's this command in here that's called construction. And what does that do? If I click on construction and then click on that line, or actually, I think it's the other way around. I first click in the line and then in construction, you see how it becomes dashed. And the dashed thing, it means that, yes, I have this little triangle in here and the circles over there. And I can do the same thing with this circle. Click in the circle, then in construction, it becomes dashed. So it's just like a reference. Because then when we start giving volume to this stuff, right, and you'll see it in a moment, when we start like, I do like this, right, because it's extrusion, right? I make them into prisms. You'll see that it has to be a fully solid line. When it's dashed, like the thing, it wouldn't work. Yeah, so I'll start illustrating some of those things in just a moment. Other interesting commands from here. There's a few more that we'll be using as the summer goes by. But spline we will learn that one next week. The number, like how to add text, we will learn that today. This one is super important, the project command. That one we might learn in a couple of weeks. And then another one that is, well, mirror, yes, you can do a couple of transformation in here. The only one I'll show you today is offset. What does offset do? I can click in offset command, then click on the circle, and it's telling you, right, I can just move it around and it's gonna make a circle that is gonna be a particular, so I'm gonna click escape, there we go. that is gonna be offset by some amount, right? So I can double click in there and give that 50. And I can click in there and make that into a construction document. Okay, so these are the basics of how to do a sketch. So now we'll illustrate some of these things building a cake. So I don't like all of this stuff, so I'm gonna delete all of them. Delete 8 sketches. Very good. So I normally don't eat cake. So when I say cake, it's really building many concentric circles, right? And the structure that attempts to be a cake. So we'll get over. Maybe it's gonna be more like a tower, I suppose. So don't take the word cake too literally, right? I'm more of a I like tiramisu though, I will say. Anyway, so let's do a circle, right? And we're gonna choose the origin right there. And I'm gonna actually I don't wanna I'm gonna go back to letter D. I'm gonna give that so that's in millimeters, right? So a cake, I suppose, you're gonna make it to scale, 30 centimeters would be fine, right? So I'll make that 300 in here. Very good. So now the first thing that we'll do is you see this command in here that's called extrude. So I'm gonna click in extrude, and you see how now that circle that we got is gonna become a prism, right? So I want the first layer of my cake to be 30 millimeters tall. And there's a couple of things that you can see from here. The only one that I'll illustrate for now is the one that's called draft. If you guys are into injection molding, anyone in here, or like design for manufacturing, draft is something super important because you need to, in order to eject pieces out of a mold, there has to be like angle. So you can design this directly here. So I can say, all right, I want this to be angled by 3 degrees. I'm just to give you an idea, or I can reverse the direction, right? So you see how it tapers inwards. I'm not gonna draft it. I just want this to be like a solid cylinder. And I'm gonna click OK. Very good. So now you've designed your first cylinder, which is congratulations. It's an important step in your Onshape journey. One thing I'll say is that sometimes I find these planes a little bit troublesome, so I'm gonna hide them. You can click in here. You can hide all of those planes. So now I'm gonna do another sketch. So I click back in sketch in here. I can do sketch, and I'm gonna go here to the top face. Very good. So now I'm at the top face of that cylinder. So I can go again to, for instance, the offset entities command, that one. I can click in that and say, all right, I want to now do, when you're happy with this, just click in the space and it does it. So I'm gonna say, I want that to be 30 and click escape. So now we have a concentric circle that is made inwards. So I can now extrude this upwards also by an amount. And I'm gonna go here to add, and I'll say, I want that to be 30. Very good. Okay, so looking slowly, we're gonna build our cake. One thing I should say is that if you right click in the extrude command, like right there, you can edit, obviously. So I can change that to be 35 if you wanted to do another dimension. You can also just rename it. So I can call that layer 2. And I can right click in there, rename it, and I'll call it layer 1. That way, this when you're doing a lot of, when you're building like very large parts, right? It's good to follow these conventions. That way you can be very sure, right, about what each thing represents. Sometimes it's hard to keep track. And one last thing is that, we're in the US. In the civilized world outside of the US, we use millimeters. That's what I was, or centimeters, that's what I was raised with. But I've grown to like the inch as well. I think it's an interesting. So if you're one of those people that likes the inch, then what you would do is you would go here to the 3 little bars, and you go to where it says workspace units, and you can here customize it any way you want. So you can go to millimeter and you can say inch. So now you see how by default, right, every dimension that we've done was in millimeters, but you can change that way. I'm gonna stick to millimeters for now. That's probably the convention I use for the summer. But if you guys can do whatever you want, it doesn't matter. Anyways, let's continue. So I'm gonna do now another sketch, and I'll do it up here. Now, this is where the construction line will come in handy, because now, let's say I wanna design, I wanna do a circle, right? So I'm gonna go here to the line. I click in the line, then I click in construction. And there we go. and then I click escape, right? So now that line will serve only as a reference, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. So I'm gonna click in letter D. I'm gonna give it this some dimension. I'm gonna make that 90. And now I'll go here to our friend, the circle command, and I'm gonna make a circle out of that point. And I will click escape, and then letter D, and I'm gonna give that some dimension. So I'm gonna repeat the same process that I just did 4 times. That way I can have 4 circles around here. So I'll make a line, then I click in where it says construction, and I'm gonna draw. Actually, I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna draw just 4 random lines. It doesn't matter. You go here to where is it? Construction. I can also draw just a regular black line, like I did right there, and then right click on the line, and then go to construction as well. So you see how it becomes that. Now, as I was saying previously, these lines are all blue. What it means is that I can drag them around. They're not fully defined. So just to, as a practice, right, of the things that we just learned, I can go here to, it says perpendicular. I can choose like that. And you see like how that command is still selected, right? So I can continue selecting sets of 2 lines as I'm doing right now and defining them. I can click escape. So then I can go to equal, right? And I can click this line and that line, and boom, it just automatically adapts to the dimension. I can do the same thing here. These 2 and it goes equal, and these 2 and it goes equal. Very good. And I'll do the exact same thing actually here. I'll do a couple of circles. Very good. I click escape, and then I go to the equal command, and I click in this one, that one, right? It's the one that is fully defined, and I want to make them the same. And you see how it becomes black. So this one and that one, black, and then this one and that one, also black. Very good. Now, hopefully this stuff makes sense. So now I'm gonna build some pillars, right? So let's, yeah, as I said before, it's not gonna be a cake. It's gonna be more like a Greek structure. I don't know what it's gonna be, but here. So let's bring this thing upwards, and I'm gonna bring them up by 80. Actually, no, that's too little. Let's say 200. Very good. So now it's starting to look like something, right? Which is very good. So now I'm gonna, hopefully you're getting the, feel free to stop me at any point, right? If you're like struggling with anything, I'm more than happy to help. But now what I'll do is I'll do a sketch. I'll stop here. So this is the last thing I'll do for now, and then I'll go individually with all of you guys, just making sure that you're doing well. I wanna give this pillar a little bit of I guess surface texture, right? You know how pillars are not just cylinder, they have like they're a little bit more interesting. So how do you do that? Well, we go here to line, then I'm gonna do a construction line. And you can see that if I hover over the top, it's automatically giving me the like the origin of that circle. So I'm gonna go, there we go, up to there. Very good. So I'm gonna do the line, that's black. So now I'm gonna do a little circle that goes maybe like that. And then I'll do a D. Click on D, and I'm gonna give that some dimension, let's say 5. So now I'm gonna go to extrude, but first I'm gonna just, you can select the surfaces, right? Like the stuff that you want to extrude, but I'll say remove. And then when I say remove, I can either say blind, right? Where I could say, right, I want this to go all the way, let's say 40, right? Which would be up to there, or I can say up to face. So I can make it go all the way to the bottom. And I'll say, okay. So now something that is pretty cool is that I can go to where it says there circular pattern. So I'll go to circular pattern and then go to where it says feature pattern, and then features to pattern. I'm gonna click on extrude number 2, and then axis of pattern, just click on the surface in here. And I can say that I want like 8 of these, 12. Very good. So now, yeah, that looks more like a gear, like a very long gear. But what if I wanted to have these also being done on those ones? Well, that's super simple too. You just do a circular pattern where, again, you go to where it says circular pattern up there, then feature pattern. And the features that I want to pattern now are I want to do this one in there and that extrude as well. And now the axis that I want to choose is this in here. Let's see whether, I hope it works. Actually, it didn't work. Let's see here. I think I need to click on reapply features. Yeah, sometimes the more I investigate Onshape and see that this is I think I come from the SolidWorks workflow. This is something that in SolidWorks will work. In here, you have to just be a little bit, you have to do a little bit more work. Yeah, so at least I was able to do a circular pattern of that one. So then, well, it's good practice, I suppose, because I can do and click on entities to pattern, like here, feature pattern. I can click on this in here. And now axis of pattern. Let's see. Oh, actually, that is not a. Well, let me just let me see if I do something. Let me just edit this for a second. I'll leave it for now for a moment. Then, but let me help you guys until I figure this out. Just a second. Actually, you gave me an idea. One thing that I just noticed about this little challenge, right, that we were facing in here is the following one, which is that now I'm gonna go back to this extrude, the one that I said here. I'm gonna edit this extrude. No, not this one. This one in here, and I am only gonna extrude that column, and you'll see why in just a second. And this, yes, I'm gonna delete. And one thing that I'll do when I do this column is that instead of doing add, I'm gonna call it new. So just do that. And then let me just edit this one in here. Let me just change that to part 2. There we go. So you see, like, this is something that normally it's a little trick that you would need, but now these are like different parts. Normally we like designing things as a singular part, but now it's as if this column was dissociated from this base. So the way I did it was that I went here to edit, and instead of saying add will make it all the same part. I just said new, and the same thing in here. I just changed. It's asking you here when you edit, like what's the scope. So I said, right, I want this to be part 2, which is that stuff in there. The reason why I did that because now I can do a circular pattern of the part. So I want to do a circular pattern of this around which axis this one. So you see that now, yes, all of the properties are pattern. And then if you wanted all of this to become the same part, super easy. You go to where it says Boolean, which is right here. So I want to merge all of these with this. So now all of that is a single part. And you see how you know that because all the colors are the same. Anyways, I go around. Yes, so now, and hopefully you got some of these ideas, but I'll repeat them again. So we'll all do together, we'll build together one more layer, or perhaps 2 more layers. And I'll tell you what's an even simpler way of doing all of this stuff. So I'm gonna go here to sketch, and I'll do a sketch in here. And yes, that is still the origin, right? So I'll do a circle. That's gonna go. I can just draw the circle anywhere, right? But then I can say, all right, I can click in this point, then letter I, and that point in there, you see how I moved the circle to the origin. In case you cannot find the origin, you can do it simply like that. And then I'm gonna give that dimension, I don't know, it's 200 maybe. No, that's too little. So I'm gonna make it 250. There we go. And now I'm going to extrude this thing by 15. So now this thing has a roof. So let's do the exact same thing that we did previously, maybe a slightly different pattern. So I go here to sketch in the top face, then I do a line, and this line is going to be a construction line. It doesn't matter what point I choose because I'm going to click in that point, then letter I, then you can see it right there, the origin, boom. So now I'm constraining that point and that point to be in the origin. And then I can Again, click on this point, letter I, click in that one. So now it's coincident, right? So you can see how this line, like this point in here, I can move it all around. So it's the one thing that is not defined is the particular angle. So we'll define that in, oh, actually now it became defined, which is, so now it's all vertical. In any ways, I can bring a circle. We can draw it there, for instance, and then again, click on that point, letter I, and bring it to be coincident on the line. Then with letter D, I'm gonna dimension that distance to be 30, and our pillars to be 40 one more time. So as I said previously on the pillar design, is that when I extrude this thing, let's say this by, I think it was 200, we can do 150 to make it a little bit more interesting design. I'm gonna click in where it says new. Instead of add, I'll do new right there. So you see, you know it's a different part because the colors are different, right? So then I can go here to sketch and then click on the top face of our pillar. And then right here, I'll do another line. I'll make a construction line and the same procedure as before. So you see how I go with the line, then I go to like the circumference and it becomes orange, which means, yes, that point is now coincident with the circumference. And then after I moved enough, for instance, there, another constraint appears, which means that it's parallel. So that's when I click and you see how the line becomes black, which means it's all fully constrained. So yes, I can do, actually, yeah, I'll just do the circle like this. So letter D, oh, right here, I'll make that an 8. So then I can extrude, I can remove, there we go, all the way up to face, right there. So then I can do a circular pattern of entities to pattern extrude 5. Right? There we go. No, I want this face. Oh, I think I'm doing it wrong. Let me go here to. Oh, right, because I was doing part pattern. It has to be a feature pattern. That's why I was wrong. Click there, then axis, I click in here, and I can say that I want like 12 this time. It doesn't matter. Boom. So then the next thing I'll do is I'll do another circular pattern now, a pattern of parts. And you can click in there, and then for the axis, just click like that. But this time we can do like 6. Why not, right? Just bring it like that. And finally, we end by doing a Boolean, where I click on all of them like that, and here, and now they all become blue. So now we have a full part. Yes, I went too quick, but I'm gonna do it again one more time. So let's add one more layer, where I want the next layer to have 8 columns as opposed to 6. So I'm gonna go back here to sketch, then click on the top face again, and then I'll do a circle somewhere. So I click on this point, letter I click on that point right there, so it brings it concentric all the way there. And then with letter D, I can make that diameter be again 250, and I'm going to extrude this thing upwards by 15. Very good. And now we'll do another column. But perhaps, what would be a better column design this time around? I have an idea. Just to illustrate. I just thinking like out loud. What I like this is it's like doing art, right? So you can be as creative as you want. I'm gonna do a line like that, and I'm gonna do a circle all the way there. Then letter D, make that 45, and then the distance here, I'll make it 30. So then, yes, we'll extrude this time only by 100. But I'm gonna make it again a new part. Very good. So then, one interesting command that we haven't yet explored, it's called chamfer in this case. So what does chamfer do? I can click on chamfer and say click in there and then click in there and see how it's giving like a little angle right there, right? So I can say I want that. So the way it measures 5 is that I think it's doing an angle. You can do 2 distances. For instance, let's see what happens if I put 10. There we go. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. So obviously I chose those 2 edges, right? So that's why it's doing it like this. Yes, you can play around with the particular settings to maybe do 5. Yes, you can do something like that, which I think it's like interesting. We'll be using this a lot in the future. So you can leave that like that. And then actually in our main structure in here, well, actually I'll come back to it in just a moment, but then I go here to sketch. I'll do a sketch here on the top. So now, yes, I'm gonna do another construction line that goes all the way like that, exit. I'll click on letter D. I'll click on 20, whatever. And then I'll do a circle like that. I can click on letter D. I'll make that like 10. And then I can extrude, remove all of this stuff, and I can say up to face. So it's, I guess, a more interesting column design, as you can see from there. So now the same process as usual, right? Circular pattern, where I'm gonna do a pattern of features, and the feature is that extrude 8. The axis is in here, and I'm gonna make 8, just like that. That looks, if you've ever played with Legos in the past, there's a type of gear that looks very similar to that one. If you were born in the 90s, you would get what I'm saying. I was raised with a particular type of Lego that, yeah, when it's a different story. Anyways, you do a circular pattern. So now a pattern of parts. So I click in here, and then the axis, again, like that one, and I can do, again, 8 of these columns. So we went on 4, 6, 8. Very good. And now, as usual, we're gonna make our Boolean, which is that button in there. So I click in all of these things and that one. So now it became gray again. You can see how the colors change. So just to wrap this thing up, I'll do another sketch here in the top face. We'll do a circle. And another way, I've been using the one where I make these 2 points, that one and that one, be coincident. Instead, I'll do another one, which is I can make things concentric, which is I can click in this circle, I can click in that one right there, and you can see how it's brought. Yeah, so that's another way of achieving the same thing. So you can click now in D, and I'll make this one 220 instead. Actually, maybe a little bit more. Very good. And now just an extrude by 15. I promise I will walk around again, just making sure that you guys more or less are getting these things. But one last thing that you can do is 2 more things, right? Before I let you guys work on this by yourselves. Yeah, there's another command that's called fillet. So what does fillet do is that if I click in there and I click on that edge and I say, all right, I want that to be, you are not able to see it, but if I do 5, it just rounds the edge. And very similar to the one that we saw previously, which is with chamfer. I can change a little bit like the parameters in here. You can play around. There's one, I think you do a variable field. I haven't explored it this much myself, but I think it's pretty cool. So I can continue selecting edges right here.
So if you wanted to make a dome
A dome on the top, you can actually.
by making it thick enough and giving it.
Or there's an even better way of doing
Okay.
it. I can show you. I was hoping to leave that for another day, but it's
No.
but we'll do it. It's so let's do those things. To do the dome, which is an excellent point, I can do a sketch in this face, in there, and now, well, actually, it's a good excuse to explore semicircles. Actually, and you'll see why. So I'll make a regular line, and I want this line to go like that, and I'm gonna make another line that goes from here all the way there. Very good. And then I'll do here where it says 3-point arch. So I click on the arch, I do this point, I click on that point, I click escape, and then as we saw before, I can do concentric, right? So I can click on this and that, and you see how it comes there. So now everything became black. So then I'm gonna exit that sketch. So what we'll do is this one that's called revolve. So revolve is something that I think we learned maybe in the third week. Or I don't remember what we're designing that day. It's a little bit more advanced, right? But it's, you guys can start exploring it. But you go here to revolve. So I wanna revolve that particular face, or actually more than face. I'm gonna choose exactly sketch 12, and the revolve axis, I want that to be that one. So that makes a sphere, right? But I don't want a sphere. I'm gonna say, I don't want that. I'm gonna say one direction. I want that to be, actually you can make it 30 degrees. You can customize it to whatever you want, but we'll only make it 180. Which is that in there? That looks good. Yeah, so we've seen fillets, we've seen chamfers, I guess now revolve. But this looks great. It looks sad. It's like a day in London, or more like in Boston, right? In the winter, when it's just cloudy and cold. And you want to make this colorful and expressive. So the way to do that is you just right click in here, and you go to where it says add appearance to face, and you can add colors. So you can start coloring these things. So I can say, okay, so now I'm gonna right click in here again, add appearance to face, and you can make that like purple. And now I might leave the columns for now that color, but I can say, okay, add appearance to face. I'll make these like blue or aqua more than blue. And lastly, one thing that is interesting is if you were to go to extrude one, right? And I should rename probably this. It's a good moment to, oh, I'm gonna call this column one as an example. I can right click in the column and say, I want to, where is it? Add appearance to the entire feature instead of having to do it part like face by face. So I can make that column be blue. And I can in here select also the extrude tool as well. See now how all of them became blue. I'll show you one more time how I did that. So that was being extrude 4. So I can go here to right click, add appearance to feature, and I'll make this one like red. So right here, oh, I don't want that one. There we go. So now it does it all at the same time. Well, why not do, let's see, what was that one? I think that was extrude 7. So add appearance to feature, and I'll make this one fully gray. Okay. The chamfer as well, and then do that as well. Very good. And then the circular pattern. Yeah. Unlike SolidWorks, you can only color stuff in here. In SolidWorks, you can say, all right, I want this to look like aluminum. So it looks like aluminum, like shine and everything. I guess that's one limitation of Onshape that I've noticed so far. But I'm pretty satisfied with the texture and whatnot. I haven't looked yet if you can do renders. I bet you can as well, like if you add a function. But for now, I start going around, try to do what you can with this, add more features, add colors, and ask me questions. Now we're gonna add text because when we do the calculator later, we're gonna need to add text. So how do you do that? Well, I'm gonna do a new sketch, and I can say I want to select like this face right here. So to add text is this little button over here. So I can click in here, just write, you make like a box, right? And I can say Andy, right? Which is my name there. So you see how it appears over there, right? Now, here's an area where this software lacks, sadly, which is in SolidWorks, generally the way it works is you can add text, say you just choose the line where you want the text to lie. So if it's, you can make it like a curve, you can make it a straight line, it can be anything. And here it's constrained to be a square. At least from my initial investigation, that's what it seems. But that's why you can develop your own scripts, right, to make it different. But say you have something like this, then what I can do is, I can move the text around. And for instance, I'm gonna do now a construction line. It's gonna go like that. I click escape. And I'm gonna, now I can say, all right, I want this line. I'm gonna make the, how is it, coin, no, coin, so letter I, click in this line, I click in that line. So you see how now they'll come together. Then I can bring this right there. So now the Andy font obviously is too large. So I can right click in there and go to edit text. So I can say, I think CAD will be a more appropriate thing to write. And you can choose from a bunch of, I suppose, like letter types in here. Oh, they don't have Calibri. This is outrageous. Nor Arial. Oh my goodness.
Thanks.
This is, I bet you could probably import them, but you see what Inter looks like. I have no idea what that is. We can make it bold and you can change in here some, you can play around. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. And now the reason why this is cool is because I can now extrude it. I can bring it upwards, like I'm doing it right now. So I can say, all right, I want that to go by 2 actually. So this is the CAD cake. Like a joke. And you can right click again on extrude one and do add appearance to feature, and you can color that to be whatever color that you want. And again, for instance, right, let me try again doing another sketchy here on that face. Again, I'm gonna do I can write the text in there. I can say, all right, this is layer 1. I'm curious to see how that is written in there. Yeah, so that's massive. So I can again right click in there, edit text, and then well, the way that you would change the size of this thing is if I were to click on D, I click in there and I say, right, I want that to be like 20. So that's how, so it's not that I'm changing the font size, I'm just changing the size of this box in which the text is constrained inside. So I can again right click in here, edit text. I got it. Oh, I'll write it over here, layer 1. Very good. And now I can just write and draw another construction line. Doesn't matter. And then I can click on I and just bring this line together right there. Very good. Oh, I just exit the sketch. So I can right click here, hit the sketch, then move the stuff a little bit around, or I can just click on D and dimension that distance in here to be, say, like 60. And now I can go here to extrude. I can extrude, I can remove. Here, so I can say, all right, I want to remove by 3. And I have layer 1 just written in there. I'll go around one more time, and then I want to show you, at least I want to get you started on my thought process to do the calculator. And the calculator demo will be in YouTube. That's all. I'm going to take this video, edit it a little bit, and then you guys will have it for later. You can revise it and whatnot. And I do that every week. That way you can always find it there. Let's start again. I'll just do one last logistical thing. I'll still walk around with you guys a little bit more. But I want to go back to the slides one moment. Oh, actually, before I go back to the slides, let me show you one very important thing, which is I want to get you started with the idea for the calculator, because the problem is that when I recorded myself with the calculator, there's no voice over, sadly. But I was gonna make it I thought we were gonna get to it today, and I was gonna be able to explain it. So just remember my words now, as I tell you more or less how to do it. The calculator is super easy to do, and you'll see in the video. I'll probably put classical music like as the background. That way you can watch me do the calculator and you enjoy maybe some Chopin or something like that. I haven't determined like what the theme of the music will be, but we'll go here. I'm gonna go back to Onshape. Also, another great thing is you don't need to save. It's saving for you all the time. So you close the browser for any reason, it's completely fine. Another great advantage, right? Over many times I've been in SolidWorks and I've closed. Anyway, I'm gonna create a new part. I'm gonna go here to document. I'm gonna call it calculator quick demo. You don't need to do this now. I want to show you a quick thing. And again, the purpose of the class today we design a cake. We have fun learning some of the skills. Probably from next week onwards, right? We start CADing just by looking at stuff with little to no dimensions, just using your imagination and pictures. And a great example is the calculator, because the only stuff I had available to me is I just went to Google Images and I looked for this calculator in there, which is, I think my grandpa used to have one in his desk. That's why the purpose of doing it, right? Because actually someone did do a 3D model, but I'm not very pleased. This one is fine. Will do better than this person. But I just look at the picture and then all I found is I went to Amazon, or like here it said dimensions, and it just told me that. And I'm like, sure. I think that's approximately we want to make it to scale. So let's go here to the calculator, right? So I'm going to do a sketch and I'm going to do front. So the main idea that I want to show you is that maybe the calculator at first glance, it might look like a complex thing to do, but the reality is that super easy, because we're going to do a line that goes like that. I'm going to click escape and then another line. At least I'll get you the structure of the calculator going. And I'm going to click in D. I'm going to make that like 100 millimeters. And then in this point and that point, and I'm going to make that, I think it was like 140, right? So overall 140 millimeters. Then it said that the height was like 28, right? So I don't know, I'm going to make the height in here 25. You see now it's all black, it's all fully defined. Then using this command that we didn't use today much, but it will be very useful, I'm going to use the offset entities. So what does offset entities do? I can click in here, I can click in that one. So it's just projecting this entire thing, or it's moving it, right? By a little amount. So I want to say that, yes, I'm happy with that. And I want the thickness of the calculator to be maybe 1 centimeter. Very good. Now, a couple of other things I'll do is I'll connect this in here. I'll connect that in there. And maybe with I'm just gonna, there we go. That way it's all black. Very good. So now I'll go here to extrude, and I'm gonna extrude that by 100. So that's the overall body of the calculator. That's literally how I started, right? And then to give it more details, I go here to the fillet command. So I can go right here and say, all right, I want that to be 10. I want the same thing right here. Very good. Then there was another one. If you look at let's look at a picture like this. Oh, no, that's too small. Can I make this bigger? No. But see how it's curved? There we go. This one is a good one. It's like curved in the front, and then it has like some curvature. Then there's like a little fillet. We can model all of that to our best of our ability. We go here to fillet, then I'll do maybe that one. I'll probably do like 7. In there, that's good. And maybe up here, I'll do like 2. And I do use a few more complex commands. Don't worry about those in the video, but you can try to get it very close to this, right? So then I can go here to fillet again, and I can choose. You see how I just chose a single edge, right? And And I just want that to be just subtle, right? Because you have to also think, if you're interested in this sort of stuff like manufacturing engineering, right? This is an injected molded part. So obviously all of the edges have to be smooth, right? This is coming out from a metal mold. Just some interesting considerations. In this, I'm gonna choose that edge as well, and maybe this one as well, and that one too. Okay, so we have like the main body of the calculator. Also with the planes, I'm gonna hide them all. There we go. And now I can go here to sketch and do a sketch in that face, right? It's an angled plane. So I can go here to, I'm gonna make just a rectangle, right? It doesn't matter because now I'll do a construction line. I'll make it, where is construction? Right here. So I'll connect like this and I'll do another one. Just like that. So I can click in this line and I want to make these two equal. That way I know that the rectangle will be centered appropriately. So then I can go here to D, click in here, click in there, and I can make that like 5. And I can make that like 7. Make that, I think it was like 10 or something. No, actually that's too little. So you see how slowly playing around with the dimensions, you can make it look very similar to the actual thing. So then you can remove maybe like 0.1 millimeters. Actually, no, 0.2. Now I want to fillet these corners as well, just to make it look pretty. And then you can, with changing the colors and whatnot, you can make it look nice. Very good. So that's like, I guess, getting you started with the basics, and you'll see more in the video. But the way it ended up looking for me is, and again, you guys have access to all of these files. Like that's the point, that you can open them and play around with yourself. But my original attempt, I got this far. I still have to finish it. I'll probably do it after lunch. Again, with the curves and maybe some details with the colors, and that's where we were. So it's an object that looks simple as a calculator, when you think about the design considerations, is a lot more complex. So that's how I wanted to start thinking about it. Like, just don't jump straight into the thing, and perhaps take a step backwards for a moment and say, right, what is the best strategy to design something like this? And obviously, there's much better ways of doing it, but I'm just interested in making models. Then you can make fun stuff out of that. Yes, I'm gonna just leave from here just a moment. So what else do I have here on the slides left that I haven't shown you? Yeah, so that's my cake. I did a different version of the cake. The file is there if you wanna see how I made like some of these files. But I think your guys' cake is nicer. The partially completed calculator. This is Tanuki if you play Mario Kart. Big Mario Kart user myself, and you'll see Tanuki as a companion in the CAD journey with us. And yes, this is next week. Oh, all in the GitHub. I'll show you again in just a second. But to give you a preview of next week, let's focus on the right side of the screen for a moment. Your homework is to find your favorite logo. Hopefully not too difficult of a logo. It could be Bayern, it could be Lufthansa, it's all soccer based. It could be Panda. I've designed those in the past. So we'll literally make a CAD model of that logo. I think it's a circle, right? Because then you can 3D print it, because you can make it into a keychain. But this is technically an aero-astro workshop, right? So there has to be some aero stuff in there. And again, as I said, Andy, airplanes, those two words go hand by hand. And I have a hobby, if you ever fly this summer, and it's a good advertisement moment. I collect these things. They're called safety cards. It's a quirk, right? It tells you what to do in case of an emergency. I have almost 750 of these. I buy them in eBay. I have no idea. I bought a Concord one just recently. I don't think we'll design a safety card. I'll save it as a video that you guys can watch afterwards. We'll focus on the logo for next time. But to give you an idea, this is how to CAD almost anything, right? Of course, I can CAD a safety card, right? Not difficult. I'll probably do the United one. It looks a little bit easier than the British Airways one, but it's the same ideas. So we can bring pictures into Onshape, right, and make designs out of that. Unless you guys have any special requests, I also think about those too. But just before I finish today, let me just show you one more second, like the GitHub here. Yeah, so we are in session 1 right now. So I haven't finished, like, still a couple of things that I need to add. But it says, yes, session slides and files. So there's a way of saving parts that's called a step file. If you want that, you just click in the session 1 folder and it's gonna be there. So you have the slides, the step file, and the picture, and you all of that is there. Otherwise, you go here where it says the Onshape week 1 library. So I click in there, right? And it takes you to the 2 files that I have in there. So you can open them, copy them, modify them, do whatever you want. They will be there. So yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing. Zoom people, if there's anyone left, thank you for joining. Otherwise, I'll see you all next week. Bye.